Welcome, everybody. I'm Marc David, founder of the Institute for the Psychology of Eating. We're in the Psychology of Eating podcast, and I'm with Angela today. Welcome, Angela.
Hello. How are you?
I'm doing really good, and I'm glad to be here with you. And my favorite question to ask a client is if you could wave your magic wand and get whatever you wanted with food and body, what would that be for you?
I think I would have to say freedom, both with food and body. I feel like I've been sort of in my own shackles for a really long time, like years, and being so confused about what to eat and when to eat and what's the perfect diet. And I'm governed by symptoms that I'm feeling every day. So if I'm having a pain flare or if I'm not feeling particularly good, I turn to a diet or I turn to some sort of elimination or restrictive approach. And it's kind of gone in a cycle for a really long time. And it stresses me out so much that I have some medical things, but I don't know if what I'm doing or what I've become accustomed to doing is actually helping or hindering. And so I think, freedom, just not being so caught up with what all the things I've learned, all the things not learned, but all the things all the things I've listened to about you've got to cut this out and you've got to cut that out. And, it's just freedom from that.
Mm-hmm. So let me just see if I can paraphrase that for you, just so I know I'm getting this correctly. So you have some health concerns, and at some point in your journey, you're learning about diet, you're learning about nutrition, and here's what's supposedly good, here's what's supposedly not good for you, here's maybe what you might want to do to help your health challenges, and it's just gotten confusing and you don't even know what's working, what's not working, what to do, what not to do. Is that accurate?
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
And,
yeah. How long has this been going on?
I'd say about 10 years now.
About 10 years. How old are you?
I'm 35.
35. Can you share just in general, and if it doesn't feel comfortable, it's totally fine, what the health concern or concerns are that you're wanting to use diet to help yourself with?
So actually it was probably more like 15 years ago because I'm thinking about it now. I was about 20 when it started. So I started off having bowel issues where I couldn't go to the toilet properly. I was having quite a lot of pain in that area, but it was more the discomfort of feeling really bloated all the time, a typical IBS scenario. And so I started going on all sorts of diets back then, and it was nothing really diagnosed. And I then had these issues, these symptoms, predominantly bowel related for the next however long, like still today, and was kind of diagnosed with all sorts of things, IBS, anxiety, but nothing actually typical that was there. And then about 6 years ago, I was diagnosed with endometriosis, had that removed. That was on my bowel. However, when it was removed, it was all removed. My clinician said that during the operation, there was no issues, there was nothing left. And so I feel like sometimes I'm sort of attached still to that diagnosis when it's not there. However, women with endometriosis would know that there's a whole host of other things. It's not just like you get it removed and it's gone forever. Like I think sometimes there's residual scar tissue. And so that's really all there has been in terms of what's happened. But I feel like I started off having these gut issues and it turned from like this big to consumed my life in a matter of what feels like seconds.
And are you currently getting any kind of medical treatment?
So I was, for the endometriosis, no, because once that was removed, actually, no, that's wrong. I'm seeing a pelvic floor physio which is really, really helping.
Mm-hmm.
However, that is kind of almost like an ongoing self-care that I need to do. So day to day, that's really all I'm doing at the moment. My gynecologist said that there was nothing much else he could do once it was removed. And I had a tablet that I went on that stopped my period for about 3 years, because apparently that's supposed to stop the endometriosis from growing back. Not a birth control, but a progestin. And that kind of helped with my symptoms. But then when the cycle came back, everything seemed to become a little bit harder for me. Mm-hmm. And then that's when I turned to food, because it's like the only thing I can't control is the pain and those sensations. I have seen a naturopath and a nutritionist a number of times in the past, but nothing at the moment.
Okay. And so these days when you have symptoms that are uncomfortable, what are those symptoms?
So the main thing is what feels like pressure in the pelvic area. It feels really tight, and sometimes that's accompanied with occasional stabbing pain, but mostly it's all bowel related. Constipation, can't go to the toilet properly. If I do go, it doesn't, it's not like there's no flow.
Yes.
And if I don't go, it causes pain in that area. So it's like it's affecting all the other parts in the pelvic area. And okay, and sometimes it's just not. And the pain there almost feels like it travels to other parts of my body.
So I'm sorry you have to deal with this condition. I know people who have gone through this, and it's very difficult. And hopefully I'll have some useful suggestions to offer you. So, but let me ask you a couple more questions. So this started around when you were 20-ish. Anything particular going on at that time in your life that might have been stressful, uncomfortable, difficult?
Yes. So I never really thought about this until recently, what was going on in my life at that time. And I had just finished my HSC, which is my senior year studies, and we were about to go. So I was really quite stressed that year. And however, it's not like I felt stressed like I do now. But I was. In hindsight, I was. And then we were about to go on a post-exam holiday. So my friends and I had booked in a 1 week to go away. And I was previously to that working part-time in a bakery. And I started in the year of studying, when I was stressed, I started to eat more than I normally would. And I wouldn't say it was, I got attached to sort of junk foods. And when I was at the bakery, I would eat a lot of bread. It wasn't binging. However, it was just eating more than what I normally would. And I put on a few kilos during that time. I'd say maybe 5 or 6 kilos. And when we were about to go on holidays, I remember sort of looking in the mirror going, what's happened? Like, you've put on some weight. And within finishing school and a week of going away, I thought I have to do something about this. So I went on a little mini crash diet, something that you would find in a magazine, and went a few days taking laxatives to try and, like, I was pretty disgusted at what my body was, even though it sort of just became something that I didn't care about to something that really affected me. Mm-hmm. And I thought that there was a quick fix. So I tried that. And then I went on the holiday, had a great time, came back, and that's when I started having bowel issues. Mm-hmm. And I really didn't know what to do about it. It sort of started, the cycle started from that point.
Got it. So do you notice that there's any particular times when, wow, my symptoms aren't so bad or things feel much better?
So yes, probably when they feel much better, when in my mind, I'm following some sort of plan. So the plan might be no dairy, no sugar, no, like when I'm being quite quote unquote healthy, and not having any sort of allergens or things that I deem to be good for me at that point in time, I believe that the symptoms are better. They're definitely worse before my period, before my cycle. So about 2 weeks before, I get quite a lot of, it's almost like all the organs in the pelvic region tense up. And I find that really hard. During this time, I try and do yoga and go for walks, and but sometimes it's kind of hits me like a ton of bricks, and I'm not expecting to wake up and feel a certain way.
Understood. How long, you mentioned you were seeing, what is it, a physical therapist who specializes in pelvic floor? How long have you been seeing that professional?
About 4 months.
And has it been helpful for you at all?
It has, yeah, it has. I wouldn't say, I think I have to stop thinking that there's some sort of magical approach. Like when I was young, I used to think, oh, if I take a laxative, I can just take it and it works overnight. And, you know, that's it, that there's the problem solved. Like I can go to the toilet properly and I can get rid of whatever it was I ate yesterday. But it doesn't, I very quickly realized that it doesn't work like that. But I still am attached to that idea. So sometimes I expect that when I go and see a therapist that everything's going to be better in that session. So I'm trying to give myself the understanding that I have to have the patience. But it has definitely helped. Is
the person doing any direct work on your body, or just giving you exercises to do, or both?
Both. So internal and external in the pelvic area, and exercises, stretches, breathing.
Great. So let me say a few words here. You know, one of the reasons the reason why I asked you, you know, when did this start? What was going on at the time? You know, sometimes there's a precipitating event in life where from that precipitating event or a difficult, challenging, stressful time, the body takes on a pattern, the body takes on a symptom. And it's just helpful to make that connection. What I have noticed, and for people tuning in, you know, pelvic floor challenges are especially difficult because there's no button to push that fixes it. There's no diet that's going to simply fix everything. And there's no drug that simply fixes everything. I just want to say from experience in this area, it becomes a journey. And it's a journey about your health. It's a journey about your inner world and how you manage anxiety and how you manage stress. And oftentimes with pelvic floor challenges, we have to, yes, notice our diet, but diet won't heal what I think you have. Has somebody ever said you have pelvic floor dyssynergia? Have you ever heard that diagnosis? No. I have heard about what that is, but I haven't been diagnosed with it. Yes. So what often happens is that the body will take on a stressor and it will impact our nervous system in such a way that different parts of the body might be under what can best be called a localized stress response. So for some people, you have a really bad day at work and you can come home with a headache or a migraine, i.e. that stress goes to my head. For some people, they have a stressful event and it impacts their heart. And they have high blood pressure or high heart rate or high cholesterol or a heart challenge. So we're all different. For me, if I have stress, it tends to go to my digestion. For you, it's going to go to your pelvic floor, which means there are going to be muscles that are tightening up.
Yeah.
And normally, who even pays attention to the concept of a pelvic floor? I know I have two eyes, I have two ears, I have two arms. Like nobody thinks pelvic floor. You didn't even learn about that in school until all of a sudden you're having these medical challenges. So the fact that the physical therapist is helping you and you see a result says to me that you're on the right track. And part of it is, we have to learn, all of us, for certain medical conditions, and you were alluding to this, we kind of want a quick fix. Like, I just want to fix this. I just want it to go away. Like, what do I got to do? What pill do I got to take? This should be gone in one session. And I think the journey that you're on is you're learning how to train your body to relax in places where we normally don't think we need to train a body to relax. So part of training your pelvic floor to relax is, getting external and internal work, just hands-on work. And part of it, is watching your diet. But I just want to suggest to you, in my experience, diet alone doesn't fix pelvic floor issues. Diet can make your pelvic floor issues a little more challenging if you're really abusing yourself with food. And I think maybe what's happening for you is there's a part of your brain that's thinking, wow, if I just had the right diet, I could fix this.
Yeah, that's right.
And I just want to say from over here, I don't think that's true. I don't think it's accurate. It's a nice thought because diet's something you have control over. I can control, I eat this, I don't eat that. I eat gluten, I don't eat gluten. I eat dairy, I don't eat dairy. I eat more fiber, less fiber. So you and I can control that. And as human beings, we naturally want to control things so we could feel better. Mm-hmm. So if I could have some control over this, then great. But again, it's using the wrong tool to fix something. It's using a hammer when you need a screwdriver, sort of a thing. So diet hasn't helped you heal this. It helps you not feel worse. It might help you feel better in different ways, but it's not going to necessarily move the needle for healing because diet is not the underlying issue. I think the underlying issue at this stage of the game is how your body does stress and anxiety.
Yes. The problem for me is that because of, I think sometimes I have days where I think, gosh, it's not the food. It's not the food. But then my thoughts, like all these ideologies that I've learned that have sort of been stored in my subconscious almost come out to play. And so when I'm having a flare which seems like every day lately, seems like I wake up and I'm just not going well most days. So automatically, I don't even have to think. Automatically, my head will go, right, my thoughts will say what to have today, what not to have today. And even if I'm at my mum's at the moment, and even if my mum makes dinner, I'm already deconstructing without any effort. It's because I'm so afraid. And I might even be afraid to eat something before I've even eaten it.
Mhm.
So chicken is a perfect example of, because of like, and it's not always sugar or something that's deemed bad for a lot of people, but everyone, like a lot of people eat chicken, and I used to eat it a lot, but now because it's on some of the lists that you can find around for things not to eat when you have endometriosis or when you have gut issues, I will have a stress response before I've even had it.
Yes, understood.
And I find that sometimes that might be what's making the symptoms worse.
Yes.
But I don't know how to take myself away from that.
Yes. Yeah. So you don't know how to do that. And that's the path, is to gradually unhook from diet is going to fix me. And at this point for your body, a little bit of chicken is not going to hurt you. A little bit of anything is not going to hurt you, really. It's those foods don't have that much power when it comes to a pelvic floor issue. It's not going to move the needle very much. So it's all about you starting to notice the sum total of your experience, because right now you're the expert on your body and you've seen what helps and what doesn't. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, no matter what diet you've been on, nothing fixes this issue. And yeah, if you stayed home all day and ate ice cream, yeah, that might cause a flare-up. Okay, fine. So we know that you're not necessarily going to go to that extreme. And if you do, you're not going to do it often. It's really starting to affirm to yourself that where I have power, where I, Angela, have power is in the places that I see truly help me and truly work, and the places that my experience is teaching me, this might be a good way to go about my healing journey. So once again, for a pelvic floor issue, diet is not going to move the needle so much. Unless, once again, for anybody, if you're going to pollute your body, you're going to get symptoms.
Yes.
If you're going to eat horrible foods, you're going to get symptoms. But you name me a food, and I don't care what list you've seen it on for your condition, eating something or not eating something in a small or moderate amount is not going to harm you or necessarily help you in any way. And what helps you right now, to me, is anything that helps you retrain your body, which really means retraining your nervous system, and which really means retraining how your nervous system is talking to the muscles in your pelvic floor. Because when those muscles, some of them get tight and some of them get rigid, it causes the symptoms that you have. So it's a couple of things I want to recommend if you haven't tried these or heard of them. One way to work with the stress response is there's a system called DNRS. D as in dog, N as in nighttime, R, S as in Sam. Just look it up. It's something like dynamic neural retraining system. Just Google DNRS.
I've not heard of this before.
Yeah, so it's a wonderful system that's just practices. It helps you reprogram your body. It helps you reprogram your emotions and your nervous system, and it's a wonderful system. I've seen it work for so many people. It was originally created for people with multiple chemical sensitivities, because it was found that people with multiple chemical sensitivities a lot of them, their issue actually was that they were in a trauma response, a constant stress firing. And that stress response just lowers your immunity, which then makes you sensitive to all these chemicals. But anyway, it turns out that the system works for any kind of stressor that's impacting us. It's very simple to practice. I highly recommend that. Secondary to that, I would recommend tapping. If you've ever heard of tapping, TAPPING.
Yeah.
Tapping is just also a technique. You tap different points of the body. You say certain affirmations, and it's for many people. It's very useful in regulating their nervous system, regulating the stress response. I also want to mention for you to work on the pelvic floor. I don't know what so you're in Australia?
Yes.
So I don't know what you have in Australia. In this country, there's a few strategies that can be that are done for this condition that are more advanced. You generally don't see them a lot, but you have to hunt down the specialists. One is that there are certain injections they can do into your pelvic floor that actually relax the pelvic floor muscles. And they just train those muscles to relax very directly because you're injecting them with a substance that just literally calms it down. So sometimes they'll use lidocaine, sometimes they'll use other drugs that will have the effect of loosening the pelvic floor muscle that they inject. So in an ideal universe, you'd find somebody like that. Ask your physical therapist if they know a doctor that is doing that. You have to go to a doctor to get that done. There are also doctors who specialize in pelvic floor issues that will give you certain pharmaceuticals, certain drugs, but it's in a suppository. So you insert it in the rectum, and they're along the lines of, similar to like an Ativan that you might take orally that would just relax your nervous system. When you take certain drugs rectally, it will act locally. So that's been useful for many.
Very interesting.
Yeah. So for many, many people, it helps with flare-ups, and it's something you can literally take every night, and it starts to train that part of your body to relax.
Yeah.
If you hopefully you can find someone, but you just have to look around, find the doctors. And, I don't know how it works in Australia, if you need health insurance or whatever, but even if you have to pay out of pocket to see an expert who understands what you're going through. I know doctors here in the States who work with that. I don't have any connections to Australia that I could recommend for you.
I'm pretty good at hunting. Down someone. So, that's all really interesting, and quite a lot of those things I've not tried.
Yeah, some of the injections that they do into the pelvic floor, they'll either use lidocaine, which will have an effect for 2, 3, 4 days for some people. Or oddly enough, you've heard of Botox, that people use cosmetically. Botox, essentially, when you inject it, it's relaxing certain muscles in the face. It's literally deactivating certain muscles. So they'll do Botox injections into the pelvic floor, and it will have a more long-lasting effect of relaxing the muscles there. You might want to ask your physical therapist, just so you know if they can even feel or identify for you the specific muscles that they think are more tight.
Yes.
Because then when you go to the doctor to get an injection, you can share that information.
Yes.
Here's the muscle or muscles that seem to be most tight, and, they'll check for themselves and inject based on that. So all it is really asking the question, like I'm asking the bigger question, and what helps my body go to a lower level of anxiety, a lower level of stress response? What's going to help me do that? I think that's what's going to be the trick for you in the long term. And again, I know right now the issue is, well, I keep thinking food is going to do it. So rather than try to fight those thoughts, oh my God, my mom's serving chicken tonight, I'm worried about eating the chicken. I get it. You do the best you can, but start focusing on other alternative strategies that you're putting your energy into. Whatever exercise, the breathing exercises that you're doing, the pelvic floor exercises that you're doing, notice the difference that they make for you. The prescription, so the suppositories that a doctor will prescribe they'll make it in a special pharmacy, in a compounding pharmacy,
right?
Where they literally make these things to order. The doctor orders it, they compound it. They literally have machines that make the suppositories and put the 3 or 4, drugs inside of them. But again, super, super effective for your condition. And it doesn't necessarily heal it, but it shows you, it gives you the experience. Oh, that's what it's like to feel relaxed.
Yeah. Which I don't really know. You know how people say, oh, I went away on the weekend, or I went to the beach and I feel so relaxed. I find it hard to feel that feeling because I feel like I'm always hypersensitive to symptoms. And I find it really interesting that you say that sometimes your body can develop a memory of feeling certain symptoms and being stuck in the trauma response of that. And even or stuck in a trauma response. And even some nights where I go to bed probably thinking that, oh, what have I eaten today? Or all the things that I've done for a really long time, potentially that whole night of sleep I've spent in a stress response, not even realizing it, or thinking, yes, what am I going to have for breakfast? Or what am I going to, it's all consuming a lot of the time.
I would love to see you, as an exercise for yourself, make a list of all the foods that you feel, according to what I believe, these are the foods that work for me. And then maybe make another list of, these are the foods I'm confused about.
Yeah.
Not so sure. And then make another list of, these are the foods that I absolutely want to avoid as best I can, because I know if I have this, whatever, and that there might not be anything on that list. I don't know. So the foods that I feel good about these. These work for me. Make a list of the foods that you're unsure of, and make a list of the foods that are, gosh, these just don't work for me. I want you to consider the foods on your I'm not sure list. Chances are they're not hurting you. And if you eat them in moderation, you have to make an agreement with yourself that I'm going to experiment and I'm going to remember. I would love for you to remind yourself every day that diet and nutrition do not cure a pelvic floor issue. They will not dramatically move the needle in either direction unless you just eat awfully.
Yeah, which I haven't in a very long time. I can't remember the last time I had. I mean, I don't really enjoy most junk. I wouldn't say junk foods, but ice cream and chocolate and things like that. I don't really enjoy eating them. However, there might be something that my dad made, like a nice cake, that straight away I'll say, no, I can't have that. Or there'll be healthy, like really quite healthy foods that I will avoid, like FODMAPs or any sort of healthy food that I've read somewhere is not good. And then I'll get myself into this situation where I've cut out so much that my list of foods is like 5 or 6 things. And I'll go.
Stop reading nutrition books. Stop reading nutrition articles. Don't read anything about nutrition because it's just clouding your mind right now.
Yes.
And more will cloud your mind. I'm just trying to deliver the message to you once again that diet and nutrition will not cure this issue. Diet and nutrition will make you personally feel better or worse depending on what you eat that day. Let's say you were perfectly healthy. If you have too many glasses of wine or too many shots of vodka or too much sugar, you're not going to feel good. If you overeat, you're not going to feel good. There are certain foods that don't work for my body, certain food, and I know it. Certain foods don't work for your body because you can feel it. So as you start to remind yourself that diet and nutrition and will not heal my condition and will not dramatically move the needle, you can then have more energy to focus on what does move the needle. And you start to free yourself up of looking for the answer in the wrong place, looking for the culprit in the wrong place. Because you can spend your life online reading about nutrition, and you can read about, I don't know, there's a lot of smart people who are vegans and vegetarians, and they'll give you all the scientific proof of why a vegan and vegetarian diet is great. And there are lots of people who are really smart and they promote a paleo diet, which is very different from a vegan diet or a vegetarian diet. And they'll give you all the research on why it's great. It's different for everybody. We are a planet full of people that there's as many useful nutritional approaches as there are people on the planet. So we can have billions of nutritional systems, and some work, and it's what works for you is what works for you. What works for me works for me. Yeah, you can borrow from different nutritional systems. You can take the nugget of wisdom. You already know enough about good nutrition and not so good nutrition.
Yes.
You don't need to learn anything more. What you need to do is live your life. And as you said at the beginning, I want some more freedom. Obviously you want to heal your condition, but you started out saying, I want freedom from all this worry.
Yes.
So the two are tied together because, again, I'm saying you're trying to hitch your guiding star on food will save me. Yes. Food will make the difference because that's what you have control over.
I always have as well. In the past, when there's been mini diagnoses of things like leaky gut, anything gut, because for me, it's always been the bowel, as I said in the beginning, and then that sort of makes the whole pelvic area worse.
Yes.
And so along the line, those mini things of you've got IBS, or you've got leaky gut, or you've got candida, or all these sorts of diagnoses, I've always just wanted to have control over my food. And I've always thought somewhere along the line, I was made to believe that's the magical answer. And I got so obsessed with that idea.
Yes. So now it's time for a shift. That was a good strategy because that's what you knew at the time. That's what makes sense. And a pelvic floor issue is not a common diagnosis. You don't hear about it in natural health. And when people are talking about IBS or gut issues, you don't really hear about pelvic floor issues.
No.
So it's missing from the conversation of natural health, of diet. And I think that's the place for you to focus on. And that's the place for you to work. And just eat a good diet and have a piece of cake. And and enjoy yourself and train yourself to enjoy life as best you can, enjoy your food as best you can, and keep reminding yourself that you don't have a dietary issue. Your issue is not diet. The solution to your challenge is not the right diet. So that's something you need to just tell yourself, and it's going to be a let go for you.
Yes.
Right? It's going to be a let go, because then you can't keep digging that same hole expecting to find gold, because you've been digging in that hole and you haven't found the gold. So all I'm saying is, because that's not where the gold is. Make sense?
Yeah.
And part of that is a letting go. And that's also part of what pelvic floor issues, kind of teach us. We're just, constantly having to let go every day. If, you want to move your bowels, it's a letting go. If you want to retrain your body to relax in certain places where it gets stressed, it's a letting go. So that's another great homework assignment for you, is to start to ask yourself, do some journaling, just write like a list, like an inventory of places in life where I need to let go more. Do I need to let go about, I don't know, my old boyfriend, girlfriend? Do I need to let go of anything with my mother, my father? Do I need to let go of certain beliefs that I have? Do I need to let go of certain people, certain experiences? Just ask yourself, what do I need to let go of? And it's not like that's the solution, but it's part of a bigger picture of retraining your nervous system to let go and relax.
That's an incredible thought.
I'm glad you think so. I think it could be very useful. And if it feels incredible to you, then it likely, has some good value for you.
In that thought is a feeling of freedom, for sure.
I love it. Because letting go of finding the answer through nutrition and diet is a let go.
Yeah.
It's a let go. And sometimes we don't know the answer. We might know where the answer isn't, but we don't know where it is quite yet. And there's a letting go. You have to let go of being a teenager at some point. You're 35. You've probably let go of being a teenager. You have to let go of when your best friend moves a little bit. You have to let go when you lose somebody. There's so many let goes that we do in life. And it's just great to start to train yourself in that direction. Because as you train yourself to let go of, things in life on a personal, emotional level, on a practical level, you're sending those signals into your body. It's okay to let go.
Very cool.
I think so. I hope you can find the right specialist for some of the things that I mentioned.
Yes.
If you can't find somebody, you should be able to. That would be so good. But, still continue with any kind of pelvic floor work that you can do. Think of it as a long-term practice. Think of it as your kind of daily meditation, doing your pelvic floor exercises and doing whatever helps you relax. Check out what I mentioned, DNRS. It's a wonderful system. It's not very expensive to, get their little program. It's reasonably priced. I highly recommend it. I've seen it work for a lot of people.
I will be doing all those things you have suggested.
Angela, it's been so much fun talking to you. I really wish you luck on your journey. And I think you'll get where you want to go. It's just going to take a little more time and, just more learning and more, it's just a personal growth experience.
Yeah, for sure.
So good luck to you.
Thank you so much for your time.
Yes. And thanks everybody for tuning in. I appreciate you being here. Take care, everyone.
Hey friends, we're so happy that you've joined us for another episode of The Psychology of Eating with Marc David. Are you loving these episodes? Then simply subscribe and you'll never miss an episode again. We'd also love it if you'd leave us a comment below so we can hear more about your own journey with food and body. And if you're curious about what we offer at the Institute for the Psychology of Eating, including our internationally acclaimed coach certification training that's rooted in dynamic eating psychology and mind-body nutrition, please head on over to our website, psychologyofeating.com. Until next time, take care. And remember, having the body you want starts with loving the body you have.